I'd like to introduce you to Benny Wills. Now, Benny was part of a troupe called Joy Camp, which takes its name from George Orwell's 1984, and the Joy Camps were not joyful back in the day. So these guys had a sense of humor. This was around 2012. I first interviewed the Joy Camp in 2013. I've known Benny for a long time. He is a fantastic talent on stage. He's a prolific poet. He is a mentor. He's a coach. He's a producer. He is here today. Benny Wills, how are you doing, Benny?
I'm doing great, Richard, and I'm honored to be here. And thank you for that really kind introduction.
Well, thank you for Meme Mondays, because without that on a Monday night at 9 p.m., usually, or 8 p.m. my time, I get to see Benny stream the memes of the week. And you have to follow the news to get the memes. And memes are like a mind virus. It's kind of like freedom. It spreads through filling in the blanks and, in the picture with your knowledge and contextual history in your head. So if you don't know the movie in reference and you don't know the current event story, the memes aren't funny. But if you have the context and you see the news, the memes are hilarious. And thank you for making the clown world a little bit more bearable, Benny.
It's honestly the least I can do. But yeah, the memes certainly help soften the blow of some of the intensity and weirdness of the times we live in.
Yeah. And I think that it was Oscar Wilde who said, if you're going to tell people the truth, you better make them laugh. Otherwise, they'll kill you.
I love that quote. That's how we used to sign up all of our emails from the Joy Camp email.
All right. So I want to take you back in a time machine.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people know about your acting career of late. Many people don't know that you played a Greek god. Wasn't it Apollo? Didn't you play Apollo in an ad series?
I did. I was the spokesman for a Scandinavian company for 3 years. Yeah, I was an American playing a Greek god for a Swedish company, and we filmed all of our commercials in Spain. It made absolutely no sense, but that was how I made a living for a few years, a while back now.
And I remember visiting with family back probably 2013, 2014, and there was a Pizza Hut or Taco Bell ad on, and I said, that's my friend Benny, to my parents. What was that ad all about?
Well, okay, yeah. So when I was, I don't even know how to start with this. I pursued a career in acting starting at age 7. And when I was in my mid-20s, I started booking a lot of commercials. And that was how I made money and how I was able to afford not having a day job in order to make the Joy Camp content. And one of the biggest commercials I did was a Pizza Hut commercial. And actually, especially in hindsight, that commercial changed my life because it was seen by so many people. Fans of Joy Camp were questioning my authenticity. And I got very defensive when they were calling me out for being in a Pizza Hut commercial. And I defended myself, saying it was how I made my money. And I don't give them a hard time for how they make their money. But it talk about a mind virus. It planted a seed in my mind of maybe this isn't, maybe I'm living two parallel paths that aren't necessarily complementary to each other. So I was at a crossroads as a result of that being brought to my attention. And I was offended because they were right. And it changed my life. I totally shifted gears after that commercial and after people called me out for it. And luckily, I'm no longer pursuing that acting path, and I'm in a completely different situation now and much better off because of it. Oh,
we'll get back to those crossroads soon.
Great.
I was on mute, but I want to go back. What was your first paid job? Doing anything as anything in the world? Because
my first paid job was I was in a chorus called the LA Children's Chorus, and I was in the Addams Family movie back in 1991, and that was my very first job ever.
How old?
I was 7 years old.
And then
I sang at the Oscars a few months later, the 63rd Annual Academy Awards in 1991. And then I worked pretty regularly as a kid for the next few years. So yeah, I started acting really young in show business.
Now that looks really good to have the Academy Awards on your resume. What was the jobs like? Did it set your expectations artificially high for the market?
Well, I think I just got
it's going to be,
I think I always have unrealistic expectations for my own life without really, I didn't look into what it took to be a successful person with integrity and how to really build the life that I wanted. I had that American dream of being a movie star. And by singing at the Oscars when I was 7, it gave me something to strive for. I was like, I'm going to go back one day, but not only am I going to go back, I'm going to go back because I'm invited back. And there's I'm a person of status. And it like got in my head. I got that Hollywood bug very early as a result. And I spent the next 20 years pursuing that dream. And it was an interesting ride.
Did you get the Hollywood bug from your dad? Because he's in one of the most played clips ever on YouTube out there.
That's correct. My dad was one of Chucky's victims in Child's Play 3. And that video, last time I checked, had something, I always get the number wrong, but it's like 160 million views, his death scene in Child's Play 3. I guess I got it from him. I think I got it more just from the circumstances I was in. I mean, I was born at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles, one of the most famous hospitals in the world. I grew up in Hollywood. My parents were both actors. All their friends were actors. I grew up backstage of plays and in TV sets and movies, and it was just like the natural fit for me. So I pursued it.
Well, and I'm reading some chat here. I think the Hollywood bug bites a lot of people because it's our only window into our shared reality back in the day. Before the internet, it was like you relate to other people through the movies we see and we talk about those things. You were on the other side. You're on like the behind the curtain, behind the stage, seeing how everything goes on from a young age.
Yeah.
And then being put in front of those lights, those cameras, that action, all those people at the Academy Awards. Do you remember dealing with like nervousness back when you were a kid having to do these things? Or was it, how did it work out for you?
No, I mean, I was so young. I didn't have a context for failure. So I didn't get nervous. I only believed in myself. It wasn't until I was older that I started having doubt. So yeah, I think I did well as a child because there was no stakes. It was like, learn these lines, go in there and do them. And then maybe you get the job. And then once you get the job, it's really fun because you're on set and you get to do all kinds of cool stuff, meet cool people and eat good food. And it wasn't until I got older that I, started to consider the option of failure. Yeah. And there was no mystique about it. That's the other thing about growing up in Hollywood is I didn't have that, like, while I pursued it and I was sort of blinded by the dream, I wasn't starstruck. I grew up seeing the Hollywood sign every day. So I didn't have like that. It wasn't far away. It was my backyard. So I didn't have that same feeling. You see movie stars, at local coffee shops and stuff. Like it wasn't a big deal. And I think that also helped. So I didn't have that, I don't know, deep longing. I was already there.
Now, at some point in pursuing that dream, did you have to start to work side hustles? Like most waiters in Hollywood are actors, but they're just waiting for the right job to come up.
Yeah, of course. I mean, so I grew up there. My family left Hollywood when I was 10. And I didn't go back to Los Angeles until I was 25. Wow. And once I got back, I was a trained actor at that point. I had my master's degree in acting. And yeah, I mean, the first few years I was in LA, I really struggled because I'd never lived outside of school. I'd been in school for 21 straight years. So I was finally in the real world and trying to gather myself. And my side job was teaching arts to middle school students in urban inner city LA. And that was for 3 years or maybe like 2.5 years. I did that. And that was, again, in hindsight, one of the most educational experiences I've ever had was dealing with those kids.
Did you ever get discouraged? Like maybe acting, like you had some success, in early on, and then you went through a little dip and then you had some more success. So it kept encouraging you to kind of stick around. Like if you just hang around the barbershop long enough, you'll get the haircut, as they would say. Right. Mm-hmm. So did you have discouragement or points where you're like, I'm not doing the thing I need to do? Or did you have like this eternal optimism? How did it unfold for you?
Yeah, well, I was at war with myself because simultaneous to my acting journey, I was going down the rabbit hole and I was peeling back the layers of reality and questioning everything I believed and everything I thought was true. And Hollywood was not free from that. Like I was questioning all of it. So I was at odds with myself, whether or not that career path was even not only like a good one for me, but was it an evil one to pursue? So I was struggling with that. But no, for the career part of my life, my mindset was all wrong. I got to LA thinking that because I put in the work, put in the time to be a good actor, that I was going to be handed something. And so when I started getting rejections, I was offended. Like, well, they don't know, they don't know who they're turning down right now. Like, I'm the best person for this job. And I was really discouraged because I wasn't getting the immediate success that I thought I was supposed to. So I had to learn how to enjoy the process again in order to start working. The moment I had a mental shift of like, you know what, even though I don't want to be doing commercials, they're the option at hand. So I may as well enjoy the experience and see what happens. So when I had that subtle shift of like, rather than dreading driving from East Los Angeles all the way up to Santa Monica during rush hour, being like, you know what, this is an opportunity to act. And that's what I'm here to do. So I'm gonna not complain about it, not bitch about it, just enjoy it. And the moment I had that shift, I booked my next job. And then I went on a series of bookings. And then for the next few years, I did really well. And when I was in that really successful state and like feeling good about myself, that's when I created Joy Camp as well, because I was feeling confident and I was able to apply my talents to something that was productive, using the commercials as a side gig and not the focus. But I focused my energy towards Joy Camp, the creation of something that was meaningful to me, a utilization of my talents, and a way to communicate and reach out to people that I had respect for. So it all worked. It all started clicking all at once.
All right. So now let's get back to just when you started to get your mind clear, apply yourself, the world started to unfold for you. And then you came into conflict with your values. What's that crossroads like where people started to say, hey, Benny, if you're talking about truth and these things you're doing in Joy Camp, it kind of conflicts with doing business with Pepsi or Taco Bell or Pizza Hut or whatever, right? And then you're like, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to earn a living? But you got over that mental hurdle and you made a transition, a very big transition that changed the rest of your life. Can you unfold that for the audience?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not like it was a this, then that sort of situation. It was more a series of events and ideas and decisions. But that Pizza Hut commercial really sealed my fate, because I did realize that I was jeopardizing my integrity and also selling myself short. I realized, like, I put in so much time to be a talented actor. I mean, 25 years or so of training, only to be getting paid to do Pizza Hut commercials. And now, granted, that's not easy. Like, that's a really competitive business, even on the commercial level. But I was like, this is not what I want to utilize my talents for, let alone make a career out of. I don't want to be, in my 40s doing commercials. So at that same time, I started getting invited to conferences and events that had to do with freedom and liberty and truth. And I decided to not only, participate because I was invited, but listen to what the other people were saying. Like, really, it became about, how could I up-level my life, and what options do I have outside of this acting career, which is all I've ever known. And so when I met my now wife, we really complemented each other. And we, after 1 year of going to Anarchapulco in 2000, I think it was 18, something clicked for us. And we realized that there wasn't just one path we could go down to pursue a life of freedom and prosperity, but there was many. And we just had to make the decision to take a chance, essentially, to leave what was comfortable and just find our way somewhere else. So we just started asking people who we consider to be successful, if you were us, what would you do? Just to get their perspective. And it led to us selling everything, buying a travel trailer, and literally leaving Los Angeles in the middle of the night and going out to Las Vegas to learn how to do voluntarist real estate with a friend of mine and pursuing wealth in that way. And that led us to coming to Pacific Northwest, to first Spokane and then Idaho. And then I guess through conversations with you, I figured out an even better path, which is utilizing the skill set that I already had in a way that could be really beneficial to others. And I moved away from the real estate stuff and into what I do now, which is helping people with their communication and just instilling a belief in themselves that they can achieve things, and getting people feeling better about their lives and not so down in the dumps because there's craziness in the world. So it's been a very strange path, but yeah, here I am, and I'm very happy.
Yeah, I mean, I was a fan of your work. We had talked online for a while, and then I met you in 2019 at the Red Pill conference, the Red Pill Expo. G. Edward Griffin hosts, and it was in Hartford, and you were the MC. And I saw your MC skills, and I asked you what you had going on. You got a poetry book you were going to put out, and it became obvious that you had this other value that you could be providing to the market. Because the thing that you find so easy for yourself, because you've been in it for 25 years, and you're not an introvert. Well, we introverts, we need some of those skills. We need some of those perspectives. Yeah, but you overcame it at a young age.
I learned how to adapt it.
Went into college still being afraid of public speaking and these sort of things, or even speaking up at the dinner table, or speaking up at the boardroom table, or speaking up at the meeting, or speaking up when the neighbor crosses the line. We need to be able to articulate ourselves in a calm, cool, collected manner, not to fly off the handle, and to handle these things with questions that evoke conversations instead of yelling at each other like most people do. So the skill set, I don't want you to underplay the skill set that you offer, because the Parrhesia course is something that I think is amenable to anybody who's been through public school or even private school. You're not getting the oration practice. You're not getting the debating skills. And you don't have to do that in Benny's course, but those are the things you can do on the other side after you just kind of break through your shell and learn to communicate yourself cogently to other people when you feel that you need to express yourself. Because I think too many people are we're indoctrinated into that. I'm going to bite my tongue. I shouldn't say anything. I don't want to be the nail that rises up because you get pounded down. We've had all those examples set for us in life. And the freedom that's on the other side of overcoming this fear and conquering this fear, like, it doesn't go away. I'm not going to promise you if you go through Parrhesia, your stage fright goes away, but you will take it from Lake Erie sized to a puddle that you can walk around. You'll take it from this thing that you can't cross that keeps you from getting to your goal to this thing that you can see and say, oh, I'm just going to walk around that. I'll do breathing exercise. I'll do warm up, whatever. People have to learn how to prepare themselves for these types of not conflicts, but we do need confrontation in this world, because as morality goes down in the world, so goes freedom. It's a direct relationship and proportion. And in order to express morality, we need to know how to communicate clearly and base it on logic, reason, understanding, and objective reality to do so. And everybody that's speaking today, in fact, most of the speakers today, they are in that wheelhouse, so to speak.
Yes. One of my favorite quotes comes from Les Brown, and he says, develop your communication skills, because once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. And like many things that are very important to not only success in life, but just growth in general, we're not taught in school. And communication is one of those things. So when I was at that moment, when you and I were talking in that general time frame, I was considering what am I good at? That's not just acting. Okay, what did I learn from acting? Why did I become an actor? It was to communicate. You're communicating a story. So I realized that everything I had been doing was a form of communication and refining my ability to communicate based off of the bad conversations I was having in my 20s. When I was in college and grad school, when I was first, waking up or going down the rabbit hole, I didn't know how to convey any ideas. I was just barking at people because it was important. And I was met with not only resistance, but anger and just dismissal. So Joy Camp, in essence, was created as a filter for me to communicate in a way that wasn't offensive, that was lighthearted, and could actually bridge the gaps, because people, once they're laughing, their guard is down. And so that was our intention. So then fast forward to, when I was trying to figure out what to do next, analyzing my skill set, communication became the obvious choice, because everything I've been doing already was with the intention of clear communication. And that's where I'm at now. And it's not just with communicate, like how to have refined speech, but, getting people in touch with why they even say what they say or what they're hoping to achieve by engaging in the first place. I mean, intention is probably the number one thing I preach most in the course, is know why you're saying what you're saying and what you're hoping to achieve as a result. So many times we just fly blind and go into these situations trying to evoke something or prove something rather than really understanding the reasons why we're engaging. We just want to change someone's mind, or make a point to make a point.
And is it our right to change other people's minds?
Well,
right?
Think about it like this. How hard is it for you to change your mind about something?
Yeah.
It's so hard for us to come around to a new idea. We have to really consider it. It has to gestate a bit, and then we'll change our mind. But to change our own minds is difficult. So what makes you think you can change someone else's mind in a simple conversation? The best you can do, well, not to say it's impossible, because it is possible. You have moments where we shift, but you plant seeds and ask questions and do all these other tactics that can eventually lead to someone changing their mind. But that's, that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, it's
yeah, you can lead humans to knowledge, but it's not moral to make them drink.
So what are you waiting for? Join Autonomy today and take control of your education. Season 9 starts March 17th. Take the obstacle course and enroll now.